Hello and welcome to another top 10. It has been a little while since I did my last one, so I thought in honor of the spooky season, I would bring back another one. So today I am talking about my top 10 horror villain masks. This is a top 10 subject that has been done a fair bit, but I think that I have some choices on this list that don't appear on others, which is why I'm more than happy to bring it to you. Like all my top 10s, this is not done by consensus. This is my personal top 10. I will be going through each and telling you what I like about these masks and why I've placed them where I have. So let's get into it. In 10th place on my list is the mask worn by Mrs. Tredoni in 1976's Alice Sweet Alice. This is very similar to the mask worn by the killer in Valentine. He wears a Cupid mask. It's also slightly similar to the mask worn by the Carver in the TV series Nip Tuck. If it weren't for the fact that this is exclusively a movie list, trust me, that mask would have been very high on this list. That is such a great killer mask. But for Mrs. Tredoni, the reason why I have put this on my list is because we see that there are elements in the mask to appear human. There is the lipstick, there's the teeth, there's a hint of a blue hue around the eyes to make it look like eyeshadow, and blush in the cheeks to look like blush. But it has a translucency to it, so you can kind of see a bit of the person behind the mask. This means that when the two combine, it creates a very unnatural, inhuman type face, which makes it all the more menacing. The mask in this film holds two purposes. One, to hide the identity of the killer. Two, to create misdirection. Because our main character, Alice, is known for going around throughout most of this film wearing this mask and a yellow rain slicker. This outfit and mask is also adopted by our killer, so for most of the film, everybody believes Alice to be the killer, but lo and behold, spoilers, it's revealed to be Mrs. Tredoni. So this is a great multi-purpose mask, and just looking at it is quite disturbing. Ninth on my list is the iconic mask worn by the many killers of the Scream franchise, our killer aptly named Ghostface. The mask is modelled after the Scream painting by Edward Munch. In fact, its main purpose is to shield the killer's identity. That's really its only function. The way we have taken something that may in another setting appear comical, put it into a horror film, we have now flipped it. When you take something benign and you put it into a great setting and you do great film work, you can make something innocent appear terrifying, such as this mask. The beauty of the fact that this person is decked out in all black and the only pop of color we see is the white from the mask. Wes Craven especially filmed it so well that this character just pops up out of nowhere, and just this sudden face that has no human features to it at all, suddenly appearing in front of you and threatening you with a knife. Yeah, you're gonna be scared, and there's a reason why it's iconic. Not just because the films are good, and it's not because the mask on its own it's scary, it's because the way the mask was used in the context of those films and how it was filmed in itself, it becomes its own entity, and that is the beauty of this particular mask. Number 8 on my list is the mask worn by aptly named The Man from 2016's Hush. What I love about this is the moment the character takes it off, we are to believe that this person is wearing this mask to hide his identity. As one of the common features of a killer, a mask is to hide their identity. This is not our killer's purpose, which makes it all the more interesting. It's more there as another tool in his arsenal to mess with his victims. If you cannot see his face, you cannot try to read in his face what is going on. The best moment that I think really depicts this is in the film is when he takes it off. Our victim is saying, "I haven't seen your face, so therefore I cannot dob you in." And he, right in front of her, goes to the effort to take off his mask because he is telling you in that moment, did you really think I was ever going to let you go? The mask is not there to protect him, it is there to create more fear, more panic in his victims. He is a sadist to the fullest. He loves the fear and terror that he places in his victims, and the mask is just another part of that. It's a performance, and that is all it is. It appears as nothing, but there is so much in this one simple thing, and the moment he takes it off, you really understand the purpose of the mask. It's funny how we can understand what a mask's meaning is even more once it's off than when it's on, but this is definitely worth putting on the list for that specific reason alone, that this mask, unlike the others in this list, is essentially a weapon. Number 7, of course, how could I not include the iconic mask worn by Michael Myers in the Halloween franchise? So this mask is actually, for many people would know this, but if you haven't seen the films and you don't know this is actually a Captain Kirk death mask from Star Trek. It was altered a bit, dyed white. The eyes, of course, were opened up a bit more to create a more scary effect. I am not entirely sure why Michael wears a mask, and I think that's the part that I find most intriguing about this mask. But it's funny because the mask, to an extent, reveals more of who he is. We always hear Dr. Loomis in the Halloween franchise talking about Michael as a soulless monster. There's nothing there. When you look in his eyes, you just see darkness. Wearing this mask really amplifies that fact. This mask, there is nothing. It's a mask that is essentially, it's a death mask, so there's meant to be no life, no something. It's meant to be an empty void. And that really echoes who Michael is. He is an empty void. He feels nothing. He goes around killing, but he's not somebody who gains any enjoyment from it. He's just a killing machine, kind of running on autopilot. He is soulless, and when you look at him wearing this mask, even if you do see the eyes, because of how it is structured, it does very much darken out the socket, so it almost appears as though his eyes are jet black and you are looking into an empty void. Unlike other people, this mask is not designed to hide Michael's identity. He does not care about people knowing his identity. That is of no consequence to him. But what it does, instead of hiding who he is, it shows us who he is. And I think that that is a really beautiful twist that is very different to a lot of other killers who wear masks, and is not the first thing you think of when you think, oh, someone's wearing a mask, because traditionally, a mask is meant to be a disguise, but in Michael, it's as if he's putting on his real face. At number 6 on my list is the pig mask worn by John Kramer and his many apprentices in the Saw franchise. This mask has an interesting history, as we do learn about its origin as the films go on. Pigs are actually something that are very symbolic to John Kramer. His unborn son was to be born in the year of the pig, and he abducts his very first victim during a Year of the Pig festival. He dons on a pig mask, which he simply plucks off any vendor, and it's something cute, it's light, it's there as to be celebratory, and he also uses it to incapacitate his intended victim. It has gone from this to morphing into something that is far more grotesque and rotten looking. It almost symbolizes John Kramer's descent into this world, this darkness, dealing with his own depravity and the depravity of others. It also speaks a lot the fact that he's turned something that was meant to symbolize something beautiful and celebratory and turned it into something that is dark, which echoes very much what happened to John's son. Something he was celebrating, something he was so excited for, that suddenly literally turns to death. What I like about this mask is that while yes, it is there to hide the identity of the person who was doing any abductions, It is a terrifying sight. The very first time we see it in the first Saw film, it is terrifying. I would not want to be in a dark room with somebody who was wearing this. I would immediately think I'm going to die. So it has two main functions. One is to hide the identity of the person wearing it who is committing the abductions, and the other is to instill fear in the victims. They should know at this moment something very bad is about to happen. Do not think you are safe, because you are not. Oh, at number 5, we have another iconic mask. We have Leatherface's mask from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Now, there have been a few versions of this mask, which is natural because Leatherface makes his mask from the skin of his victims. So, you can easily be making many and none of them will be the same. But my favorite, to my surprise, has to be the one worn by Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot. I feel shameful for even saying this, but there is something very, very terrifying about this mask. The first mask worn in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it never quite scared me or did anything. It did indeed appear as though he's wearing somebody else's face, which is good because that's the point. But it very much looked like fabric to me. It looked like a patchwork quilt. It did not often appear like flesh. When we get to the reboot, this particular mask is terrifying because it looks very much like rotted flesh. You see this, you know you're in trouble. There is beautiful psychology in the character of Leatherface. That psychology kind of disappears during the later films, especially the rebooted franchise, but in the original, it spoke to a person who was hiding. He was very shy, he was very insecure, and he found his confidence by essentially wearing the faces of other people. But this particular incarnation of Leatherface is more of a threat. This is what is going to happen to you. This is what you will become. The masks always appear rotten. It very much looks like he has taken someone's flesh, he's taken it right off the body and sewed it up and put it on. The beauty of how it is made, where it looks like it reeks of death, because I'm sure it does, but it also is so imperfect. Sewing human skin that you have detached from the body and are trying to repurpose it for yourself, that's not going to be a clean procedure. So I love that it looks messy, it looks uneven, it looks like a butchery, and that works because he is a butcher and he has just butchered someone. You still looking at this mask can see that underneath there is someone whose face is very different to those around him. You do get the hints that there is someone who, for lack of a better term, is slightly deformed. But it's interesting how with this incarnation of the character, the mask he puts on doesn't hide those deformities, it almost accentuates them. It's more worn of like a badge of honor. It's like people who want to hang the head of their kills on their wall. This is very much that. He's wearing his victims on his body and sending out this message of this is what is going to happen to you. It is a giant flag that instills fear into his intended victims, where they know the moment they look at him what is about to befall them. And that makes this very creepy, very unhygienic, very disturbing, but a great horror mask. At number 4 is the mask worn by Vincent Sinclair in 2005's House of Wax, and I can hear the protests already. This film is a remake of a remake, and I know there were plenty of people who didn't like this film. I actually do, but we're not here to talk about the film, we're here to talk about the mask, and here's why I like it. Aside from the fact that, one, it's made from a very unconventional material, which is wax. This character is a sculptor. He works with wax. This is his medium, but it's also his weapon. and he's used it to create a new face for himself. It is revealed that Vincent is deformed. He unfortunately is deformed due to the fact that he was a conjoined twin, and well, surgery I guess did not go so well. The mask is not there to prevent people from knowing who he is. It's there to hide his shame. It speaks very much to the psychology of his character. His character is a submissive. He's not actually someone who gets any thrill or pleasure from killing people. He's become submissive to his very violent and abusive brother, and he feels he owes him. He is very much the servant to his brother, and the brother is the master. He is the artist, and this is now how he reflects his artwork, but he has been brainwashed by his brother, so his actions are not entirely his fault. But the mask is so much a part of who he is. It hides the deformity that he doesn't want to see, one that very much his own brother has used against him. His brother has turned that on him and used that weakness to break him down and get to him. So in essence, this mask is there to protect him, not to shield his identity, but protect him from the bullying, mistreatment of his brother, the bullying and mistreatment of people in general. It's his attempt to look as close to normal as he possibly can. He is a very conflicted person, but this mask, I love the craftsmanship of it. I love that because it looks like a face, but it has no facial expressions. That makes it very, very creepy. If someone came to me and were wearing this, I would run for the hills, because it has one of the features that I find most terrifying in a mask, which is faces without expressions. Faces that kind of appear human, but have no human expressions. They freak me the F out, which is why this is so high on my list, plus the psychology aspect of it. Number 3 on my list is a very simple burlap mask worn by Sam, also known as Samhain, in 2007's Trick or Treat. I love this film. If you haven't watched it, you must watch it. Sam is what appears to be a little boy who runs around doing trick or treat on Halloween. He is not that at all. He is the demon spirit of Halloween. He is the essence of it, and he is Halloween's keeper of the rules of Halloween. He goes around and makes sure that people follow those rules. Now, this mask may not seem very impressive. It is just a burlap sack wrapped around somebody's head. It's not very creative. It's not very imaginative. But what I love about this mask is it's very much a polar opposite of everything else on this list. When you see this character and you see this burlap mask, which has stitches designed to make it look like a smile, it very much looks like a cute little kid wearing a cute little Halloween costume and going around trick-or-treating. At first glance, this does not appear menacing. You would look at this and go, oh, that's so cute, and you'd start giving out candy. But what is so great with Sam is it's hiding the face of a demon. We look at it and we get lulled into a false sense of security where you're going, oh, he's not scary at all. And then the mask comes off and we realize we're in deep shit here. You do not at all expect what is hiding beneath that burlap mask. And it's so confronting and shocking when it does. And that kind of teaches you a very interesting lesson about the subject of Halloween in this film. In Halloween, it's tradition to wear a mask for the purpose of so that the spirits who have returned to the world of the living cannot recognize anybody. You are hiding your identity from spirits and demons, so you cannot be haunted, you cannot be possessed. That is what the masks are for. So it's a really interesting twist on that a demon is walking amongst humans and using a mask to hide its identity so that humans cannot see it. I love that. I love that little switch, and I just, for those reasons, I love this mask. at number 2. I was tempted to put this at number 1, but I just couldn't. The latex mask worn by the Collector in the Collector franchise. This mask, there is nothing normal about it. There's nothing human about it. There's nothing conventional about it. It's purely there to hide his identity, but they've structured it in a way that it makes the man behind the mask look more terrifying. We can assume we've had some glances at the man behind the mask. If you look in the film, we can see snippets of him at the start of the first film, so we know he's not a bad looking person. So he's not hiding a deformity, but the mask, again, like with some of these killers, is really showing us his true self. We're seeing something that is unnatural, inhuman, it's dark, and this speaks to who he is, doing things that we cannot understand for reasons we cannot understand. He is a methodical, highly intellectual, sadistic killer, and when he puts on this mask, he looks absolutely petrifying. What I love about the Collector is that he does not speak, he does not say a word. All we see are his eyes, which are dark as the night, and while also reflect his love of insects, as it does make him look a little bit insect-like, what it also does is give you this illusion that he can see in the dark. I don't believe that he can, but it almost makes you think that he can, and it's because in that moment it is though he is one with the dark. The Collector is a terrifying individual, and his mask just amplifies what he is and just makes him all the more terrifying. At number 1, I know many people would probably not have this on their list or even care and probably think that this is stupid, but at number 1 is the porcelain mask worn by Matilda Dixon in 2003's Darkness Falls. What the mask does is it's there to actually protect her, and it's there to look terrifying while it does. This character is dead. She is a ghost. She doesn't need to hide her identity. What this does is act as a shield. It protects her from her one weakness, which is the light. She was in life very sensitive to light, and she was burned to death for crimes she did not commit. Even in death, she has carried on this weakness where she is still exceptionally sensitive to the light, to the point it is the only thing that can hurt her and it is the only thing that can kill her. So, as in life, she wore a mask to protect herself from the exposure of light, and she continues to do this in death. Now just imagine, it doesn't matter whether you're a child or not, but imagine you're in a dark room, you're very scared, you pull back the blankets, and this face is nose to nose with yours. This image has terrified me for years. I still find it scary. That moment when we first see her face, it terrifies me. Again, it's one of those things that I fear. It is something that appears to look human, but it has no facial expressions whatsoever, and so therefore it terrifies me. And that is why it is number 1 on my list. This mask scares me more than any of the others, so therefore it has the most impact, so I have to put it at number 1, because there are times I am in a dark room, and if I see one thing that looks lighter than the rest, where I almost see a flash of white, I think I see a face, and I swear to God, this is the face that I see whenever I am in the dark. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what my nightmares look like. And that is it. There you have my top 10 horror villain masks. I hope that I have put some things on this list that you have not seen on other lists of this nature. But that is it for today's video. Please comment down below and share and tell me what is some of your favorite horror villain masks, whether it be masks that you just love because they're iconic, or masks that you love because they absolutely terrify you. Or maybe you don't love them. Just name me some masks that absolutely scare the bejesus out of you and you never want to see again. But that is it. I hope you liked this video. Thank you as always to my amazing patrons. I hope everybody is having a great October, and I will see you in the next video. So until then, bye guys.